Hello guys and welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Joe and I'm here for a new AC Milan news live stream here to talk about the latest news and rumors currently going on at our club. Lots of players to speak about today, primarily players that are currently at Milan. Not many news incoming about possible arrivals, but today I'll be touching on the topics of Andrea Poli, Carlos Bacca, Honda, Niang, Calabria, and also finally about Bade and Zaza. So starting off with Andrea Poli, it appears to be that there's some sort of interest from Torino. It seems to be that Poli really hasn't been getting much playing time this season. First of all, for various reasons. There was Bertolacci's return, and Pasalic has been having a pretty good season whenever he was given the chance. So his performances are doing pretty good for Milan in terms of Pasalic and Bertolacci. Poli hasn't really started any games this season besides a couple, and whenever he has been given the chance to come on as a substitute, it's not like he did a great job altogether. So Torino is currently interested in signing Andrea Poli. Of course, there he will once again reunite with Mihajlovic, and this could be a pretty good option for Poli. Torino has been following the player for a long time now, and that could be a very good destination for the player. He's gonna get playing time. He's gonna be under a coach in which he was already playing for back in the days, especially last season when he was under Mihajlovic at Milan. And Torino is definitely a team that works very hard, and I could definitely see where a player like Poli could enter their team and do quite well in that midfield. Right now, it's only rumors. There are no ongoing negotiations between the clubs and the player, but keep an eye on this because Poli could really move to Torino this transfer window. Like I said before, the likes of Bertolacci, Pasalic, Locatelli, Kuchka, lots of players are currently ahead of Andrea Poli at the moment at Milan, and that is why it seems to be that he needs to find another club if he wants to get more playing time. Now moving on, I do have some comments on Carlos Bacca. Initially, earlier this week and even last week, I did mention that Milan might have to sacrifice a player or two if they want to fund their transfer window. And it appears to be that these players were either Bacca or Niang. Possibly the players are worth the most in the attack in order to generate those transfer funds. But Bacca's agent came out today and said that there were some Chinese teams that were interested in Carlos, but he's currently happy at Milan, especially after the Italian Supercoppa win back in December. It seems like Bacca has got some sort of self-esteem back into him all over again. Yes, he hasn't been doing well in the past few months, but Montela's working quite closely with him to try and bring him back to his old form, to start banging in the goals again, and we're definitely going to need his goals in the second half of the season if we want to reach any of our objectives. Now, speaking about offers from China, this report just came in not long ago actually. It seems that Bacca was actually offered 10 million euros on wages per season for 3 years. This is coming from Beijing Guan, a Chinese club. So that is a lot of money. You know, we see a lot of players in these past few months leaving to China for the money. And this is a big offer for Bacca. You know, 10 million a season for 3 years. It's definitely a lot of money that could help him and his family, but he has refused this amount, and he said that he wants to stay at Milan to win many more trophies. Not something that many players will do nowadays. We've seen even younger players than Bacca leaving to China for the money, so I'm quite happy that Bacca is not one of those players that just goes for the money, whatever it calls him. But is rather focusing on winning trophies and staying at Milan. Now, the next player I want to speak about is about Milan Bade, because obviously we have been interested in this guy for a very, very long time, and he was valued at around 10 to 12 million euros. This is what I mentioned last week. There were various reports actually saying that around this amount would be satisfactory for Fiorentina to potentially sell him. But it appears to be that Milan are currently out of the race to sign the player, and that is because they simply don't have the money to pay him. They don't have the money to pay Fiorentina to buy the player. And the agent, Badei's agent, came out and said himself that despite the interest from Milan and other clubs in the Serie A, such as Italy, nobody quite has the money yet to pay for the player. This is what he had to say concerning Milan. He said, Milan, their interest is now a common knowledge, but in recent months, I've had no contact with the Rossoneri. We have no hurry though. We're not going anywhere and summer is near. Now, what this means is obviously Badei does not want to stay at Fiorentina. I think we all know that by now. He doesn't want to extend his contract with Fiorentina. He wants to leave that club and he wants to join another club, potentially in the Serie A. Milan don't have the money yet, but like the agent suggests, they might as well wait for them to have the money in the summer. And therefore just remain at Fiorentina for the second half of the season and then leave in the summer when Milan potentially has the money. So we'll see what happens there if Milan will end up buying him or not. But rest assured that this won't occur in the winter, but most likely in the summer. Now, I wanted to also speak about Simone Zaza because a lot of you guys have been asking me about him. And, yesterday I did say that it wouldn't be a welcoming option for me. But it seems like his loan spell at West Ham was terminated and he has returned to Juventus. I don't think he's going to be staying at Juventus. I think he will be joining another team this winter. And Milan appears to be one of the teams that is interested in bringing Zaza to Milan. Now, there's also other teams like Fiorentina and Genoa, like his agent is mentioning, which is his father actually. And there's also a possibility of the player moving on to Spain. Now, in regards to Milan, his father had to say that there was contact with Milan last summer, but nothing new happened since then. If they were to call, I'd be very happy to speak to them. Milan, a huge club. So once again, this kind of means that the agent, the player, they're interested in joining Milan. Of course, if a call does come up, I don't think they will deny it. But will Milan be heading for the call up to Juventus? Will they be asking Juventus for the player? That to me, is a big question mark. I don't know if Zaza is exactly the type of player that we need. Now, I'm not speaking about him just because of what he showed in the Euro with that missed penalty shot and all that mess over there. But what I mean is that I just don't see him really coming to Milan. Maybe, yes, Juventus could give us Zaza on loan with no option to buy for the winter mercato, and that could be a pretty good option if we do get him on loan. But I just don't see Milan even potentially going to buy him, not at this point and not even in the summer when we do get the transfer funds. But I definitely hope that Zaza doesn't really come to Milan. I don't know, for me, in my eyes, he's not a player that we need. Sure, he's done good things when he gets a chance to play, but I think we have better players than that at Milan for the moment. Now, finally, I did want to mention something about Niang, Calabria, and also about Honda because, like I said at the beginning of the video, Milan was looking to potentially sell a player or two to fund their transfer window. Like I said endless times by now, if you guys are new to the channel, maybe you guys still don't know, but like I said to you guys for many, many days now, Milan simply does not have any transfer funds to play with in the winter mercato. And if they want to get these transfer funds, they're going to have to sell players and base their signings on these funds. Now, the options out there were Niang, Bacca, like I said before, options that would probably get you some money, let's be honest. But it seems to be that none of these players will leave this winter. And this is because Milan TV has mentioned today that Niang and Calabria are off the transfer market. And Onda, on the other hand, a player that we thought had actual offers from the MLS, appears to be that he doesn't have any offers. So, of course, the winter transfer window in the US starts in February, so there's still a bit of time for them to talk about potential signings. But as for Niang and Calabria, two players that are definitely fundamental to this team, even though Niang hasn't been doing well in the past few months, he was still pretty fundamental to Milan in the first month in September. August and September, he did quite well. So Milan don't want to give up on him just yet. And also this goes back to the fact that I mentioned yesterday that Montella wants to work with Niang and Bacca once again to revive them, bring them back to their old form, and bang in the goals for Milan in the second half of the season. So it seems that Milan, Montella want to give Niang another chance, and they want to see what he could do in the second half of the season before thinking of potentially selling him. As for Calabria, he's coming back from an injury. Finally, he's back. And like I said, and like many other people said, this could potentially be like a new signing for us. Calabria is a very strong fullback. And in those games where one or two players such as Abate or Deschillo might not be able to play, Calabria could very well fill in their shoes, especially maybe in cup matches like in the Coppa Italia. We got one coming next week against Torino, and this is a perfect opportunity to play one of these players such as Calabria. So we'll see what happens, but once again, I'm very happy about Calabria not being put on the transfer market. Even if it would be a loan to another team, I'm happy that he hasn't really been considered as one of the players that could leave Milan this transfer window. As for Honda, like I said, we're still expecting some transfer movements for him, and we're still expecting some offers, but at the moment it seems like there are no offers, even though I did say that the MLS is interested in signing Keisuke Honda. So we'll see if that could be a solution for him, maybe in February when that transfer window starts. Now, guys, please send me in your questions, your comments concerning today's news. I'll be reading them for the next minutes. Of course, also, don't forget to subscribe to stay updated with everything going on at AC Milan. So let's start on with your questions. Bia XO11 says, Zaza doesn't have the pace, he is not physically strong, he doesn't have skills and good dribbling ability, so I really don't know what's the deal with this player. He is a definition of average. And like you said there, I think he is the definition of average. He's a pretty decent player, but nothing spectacular, nothing out of the ordinary that we absolutely need to go for. So like I said, if we could do without him for this transfer window, then by all means, let's go for it. Let's just keep him out of the equation there and wait until the summer and sign a proper striker maybe. But like I said, if we're really that desperate, if he could arrive on loan, if we do need some sort of backup maybe, then by all means, let's go for it. But I don't want to be obligated to buy this player at the end of the season. And that might be something that that Juventus might want to include in the clause. But everything is yet to be determined. Like I said before, there are no ongoing negotiations between Milan and Zaza just yet. There was some interest in the player back in the summer, but right now there is nothing regarding him. Moving on, Volcano Game says they made an official offer for Deulofeu. Why not talking about it? I spoke about Deulofeu for the past few days, first of all. The latest offer that we have about Deulofeu, or the latest news that we have about Deulofeu, is that there is a loan plus option to buy instead of the loan with no option to buy, the dry loan, the initial dry loan. So that is the updates that we have considering the player. But there's really no further updates coming in from Everton. But it seems that the player will be willing to join Milan if Milan actually come to an agreement with Everton. So that is important to note. But in terms of potential deals, potential offers with Everton, I already spoke about everything regarding Deulofeu in the past few days. There are no updates. RMVS Gaming says Calabria is a key player for Milan. Maybe not good enough to start, but for the future, he will be key. He also helps squad depth for Coppa Italia, and that's exactly what I said. He helps the squad depth, something that we need. And the fullback position, yes, we're well covered, but Calabria could add to the competition already established there, and he could be a very vital player going on forward. Vig HD says, do you think we will sign Pasalic on a permanent basis? Maybe, but not right now. In the summer, he probably will be signed on a permanent basis, but we'll see what happens then. Juan Valdez says, Gio, can you recap all the news for today and just join the live stream? It will be greatly appreciated. Sure, Juan, I'll be doing that just later on. Let me first get into your questions. Mad Mike says Poli had a lot of potential with Sampdoria, and he even started well with a goal for Milan to open the 2013-2014 campaign. Although I definitely think he needs more consistent playing time elsewhere now. And like I said, he's not a bad player. Many people say he's a very terrible player. He's not skilled, let's be honest. But what he does is when he comes on, he brings in that grinta, that grit, that physicality that certain players are missing at Milan. But when you have guys like Kuchka, Pasalic ahead of him, it is difficult to really give him any playing time. And that is why he needs to move abroad. He needs to move to another team. Serial Killer says, Gio, are you actually still patient with Yang? This guy's the next Balotelli. For some reason, he thinks that he's Ronaldo or Hazard. I'm still patient with him, but it's not like I'm not being critical with him. Niang knows that he needs to improve. You know, he's been getting a lot of criticism in the past few weeks, in the past months, for the right reasons. You can't blame anyone but himself, really, for what he's shown. So, yes, I'm still patient with him. I think he's still capable of showing some more things. We'll see what happens in the second half of the season with Niang. But what he needs right now is the confidence from the team and from Montella. If he could get that confidence back and not be so selfish around the other players, then he could be a whole different player. But we'll see about that. I think I'll make a better judgment regarding him in that second half of the season. Saud Zanai says, hey, I hope it works and Poli leaves. Giuliano says, do you think we will sign players? I don't know, because last year in the winter, Milan haven't signed anyone. Like I said, if we will sign some players, we'll potentially be on loan. I don't think we're gonna have any players coming on a permanent transfer this mercato. Aniket says, Gio, do you remember the interest of Everton on Honda? Why can't Milan set up a swap deal? By the way, Everton signed a new winger. Yes, I do remember about Everton's interest. Are they still interested in him? Maybe not. Would a swap deal be ideal for Everton? Probably not. So that is what the problem currently is. Maybe Milan could offer Honda plus money for Deulofeu, but at the moment, you know, it doesn't really seem like Everton's still interested in Honda. We'll have to see what happens there. Bia XO says, do you think there's a possibility that Chinese investors in summer won't buy Milan once again and Milan fans will suffer until the rest of their poor lives? There is a possibility, of course. Nothing is a done deal just yet. By the way, the official closing is set for March, so it won't even be until the summer. We'll know all about it in just 2 months' time, but I think this time is the right time. Like I said, endless times already. Moving on, J Mud says Poli has too much energy and fucks up every time with the ball. He looks like he's taking drugs. I don't know if you guys recall that video there where he was just running and he slipped over himself at one point. He tripped over himself. Oh man, that was hilarious. It was like a ghost tripped him at one point. But yes, David Castillo says, sometimes I get hangry with Niang and I want the team to sell him, but then I remember how he was a key player to beat Sassuolo when he comes in as a sub, and then I have patience. He's an inconsistent player, guys. I said it many times. Definitely, he's an inconsistent player. He might be a good player, but what's missing with him is that rhythm. Every game he needs to come on and bring his 100%. There are some games where he does that, other games that he doesn't do that, and like people have said, he's definitely like a Balotelli. You know, he doesn't come to the games giving his full 100% when you know that he's capable of doing better things. So at this point, we just have to have patience with him. We'll see what develops with him in the second half of the season, but hopefully he does change for the better. Siddharth says, Gio, what's the update on Orsolini? Milan is no longer interested in Orsolini. I said this last week because the Chinese don't approve of him. That is the latest updates on Orsolini. Sufyan says, hey Gio, I heard that we are interested in Diego Laxalt. Yes, I spoke about him yesterday. If you missed that video, check it again. But yes, I did speak about Laxalt for the past few days now. Marv Diaz says, do you think Rodrigo would be a good option for Milan? He plays in Spain and is an ex-Benfica player. Not quite sure you're speaking about. Which team does he play for? Let me know. Anika says, Gio, you should learn some Chinese by the summer. Will help you to tap into the large fan base in China. Definitely, let's learn some Chinese. Would I sell the Shio for good money? This is a big question, and like I always get this question every transfer window. For some reason, I always get this question: would you sell the Shio? Would you sell the Shio? Would you sell the Shio? Deschillo is a player that I think has a lot of potential, and I've always said that. He has a lot of potential, but what he doesn't show is consistency like many other players at Milan. I know this guy's capable of doing good things. Sometimes he's shy. You get those games where he's shy off the ball. He doesn't really go into tackles hard. And then you get games where you can see his aggressiveness. I remember one game last year where he actually pushed the guy at one point. I was like, wow, Deschillo's capable of that? I didn't really see his aggressiveness in his eyes ever. So you get those games where he's just a quiet kid on the side, and another day where he's actually a very good aggressive player. And that's the type of player that I want to see from Deschillo. So like I said, he's two-faced, He's a player that has potential, but sometimes just doesn't show it. Would I sell him? It all depends on the transfer. If it's actually a good amount of money coming in, a good offer for Deschillo, I might consider it. We do have good fullbacks. On the left, not so much. We do have Antonelli and Deschillo. Deschillo is capable of playing on both sides. That is another asset that you have to consider when speaking about him. But I think if a good transfer money at this time of the season or in this year really arrives for Deschillo, I would potentially give it away. Moving on, says FIA creativity, Tielemans would be a dream signing for our midfield. Siddharth says the Chinese are interested in marketable players rather than talent. Yes and no, I guess. Frankie says, the Chinese should really be focusing on getting rid of Montolivo. And Montolivo is one of those players. Again, once I said, inconsistent. You could be good one game, you could be bad another game. More bad games than good, obviously. But that's another big talking point. I think a lot will be shown in the summer. Not much will be shown this winter, but in terms of a regista, when you got Locatelli and Bertolacci both playing in that position, and then you got Montolivo as well coming back from injury, you got to make some decisions because not all of them could play at the same time there, and one of those three will have to leave. Montolivo, Bertolacci, I'm expecting either one of them possibly to leave next summer. Fadi says, Zaza, what about him? And don't you think that Baka time to sell to the Chinese? Baka doesn't want to leave to the Chinese. Milan don't want to sell him. Baka wants to remain to Milan. So there's just no option of him going to the Chinese right now. To China at the moment. I already addressed a lot of questions regarding Montolivo, guys. So I'm not going to answer any more questions about him. But Milan Channel says, are we going to sign a world-class player in the summer? I definitely hope so. I think we will. I don't think there's any real problem with us signing a world-class player if the Chinese take over the team. But obviously there's a big if because we're still not 100% sure if the final closing will arrive. Yes, it's set for March. Is it going to arrive just yet? We don't know. We have to wait until March to see if it's going to be finalized. There's good chances that it will. There's obviously good chances. But until there's an official confirmation, an official statement coming in from Fininvest and the Chinese saying that the club has been taken over, then we could be happy, you know. So we'll have to see what happens. FIA says, Gio, don't you think it would be better off keeping the team as it is rather than risky signings in January? And I don't think it's just about risky signings in January. Like I said, you know, what we need is players to add to the depth of this team. It's not about risky signings, and that is why, you know, Milan considering many loan options this winter mercato could actually be the best thing right now, because these players will arrive, they would get the job done potentially. There's no gamble. It's not like we have to keep them for the long run, but we definitely need some players that could adapt to the team quickly and could help the team, because there's a lot of games. There's going to be a lot of games in the second half of the season. And like I've read already today, you know, Montela's already suggesting a turnaround of players, because we will be playing 3 games in the course of next week already. Cagliari and Torino twice. So, you know, when you look at that, you know you need to make changes. And the same starting 11 won't always be playing. You're going to have to change players. Players are going to have to come off the bench more times than they usually do, and that is why I say we need to get players that, even though won't remain long time at the club, will be able to get the job done at least until the summer, at least until the end of the season. Players that could add to the depth of the team. That is the type of players that we need at this point in the season. Even if they won't stay long term, as long as we get them on loan, better options than the bench. For example, players that will leave, like Rodrigo Eli, Vanjoni, if we could get better options than them that could actually get some playing time, then, you know, by all means, let's go for it. But that is what I'm trying to say. We need players that will add to the depth of the team. Moving on, do you think we have a good chance to sign Fabregas? Really, right now, I don't think so. But there might be some developments coming on later in the month, but at the moment, I don't think there's any possibility of us possibly signing him. Do I follow Patrick Cutrone? Yes, I do. He could be a good replacement for Luis Adriano. Like you said, yes, he could be, definitely. And that's why I don't think we need a guy like Zaza when we already have one in the team. Patrick Cutrone, a good player, good youngster. Finally, I'm gonna just answer 1 or 2 more questions from you guys. RMVS Gaming says, scenes if we lose to Mijalovic twice in a week. Torino is an amazing team. Really, we're gonna have to do a very good job against them, as we're playing twice back-to-back against them. I've been an AC Milan fan for a very long time, since I was really young. So, one more question. Coming in from, considering Jose Mauri, yes, maybe yes. He could come back in the summer. He could be a good player. We already seen him start games for Milan last season. He wasn't getting much playing time. We all knew that. But yes, maybe he could be a very good addition to the bench. Like I said, a lot of these youngsters cannot just rot on the bench, and that is why they need playing time, and they want to move to other teams to get that playing time. But, you know, if Milan does get better, we might integrate more youngsters into the team. But we also need to have a good balance of young players with experienced world-class players. So we'll see what happens coming on from there. Alright guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today. Thank you all for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe to Rossoneri TV to stay updated with everything going on at AC Milan on a daily basis. If you guys haven't yet and you're Milanistas, I simply don't know what you're waiting for. We're very close to reaching 11,000 subscribers. Daily videos for you guys to stay on top of everything going on at the club. Match previews, reviews, daily news, watch-alongs, and so forth. Really, this is the channel for AC Milan fans, so if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Also, don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys tomorrow for yet another AC Milan news live stream. This has been Gio, signing off, and as always, Forza Milan!